Charles Coburn. He was a lad from London's East End Dockland in 1872, but became one of the great entertainers of his day. For not only did his life span the two halves of both centuries, he died at 93 in 1945, but he achieved fame on the musical stage and the Straight Theatre as well as being one of the music hall greats. He also began at a time when music hall was booming, as Ted Ray reports.
Every publican would now try to lay violent hands on the building next door, whether workshop or stable yard, school or church. No opera house was too grand for the purpose, and no shanty too mean. Weston's was constructed out of the Holborn National Schoolrooms. The South London usurped the site of a Roman Catholic chapel. The Oxford arose, in Oxford Street of course, in the yard of the Boar and Castle. The London Pavilion had been another stable yard until an exhibition of anatomical waxworks put a roof over it, and was next a skating rink before the music hall claimed it.
It was at the aforementioned Oxford that Charles Coburn enjoyed his greatest success, with songs like Two Lovely Black Eyes. It was a pretty opulent sort of place in those 1895 days, as this report from Jessie Matthews and Sandy Powell recalls.
The Oxford is a handsome structure, 41 feet high, with a total length of 94 feet. One of its chief features is the system of lighting employed, which consists of 28 brilliant crystal stars, together with 4 large chandeliers suspended from the roof, with smaller ones in the galleries.
11th of February, 1868. Early this morning, the night watchman of the Oxford Music Hall discovered that a fire had broken out in the corner of the gallery on the Oxford Street side. The fire was confined to the hall itself, and although some damage was sustained by their contents, the several promenade bars, the supper room entrance hall, and even the private boxes in the gallery were not substantially injured. But the fine plate glass mirror fixed on the back of the stage, and which was a feature of the building, was totally destroyed.
Fire or not, the Oxford was there, and that was where Charles Coburn first sang the song he immortalized, but which many people today would only associate with Maurice Chevalier. Maurice came to it later, but the song, The Man Who Broke the Bank at Monte Carlo.
I've just got here to Paris from the sunny southern shore. I to Monte Carlo went just to raise me winter's rent. The importance smiled upon me as she never smiled before, and I've now got lots of money, I'm a gent. Yes, I've now got lots of rhino, I'm a gent. As I walk along the Bois de Boulogne with an independent air, you can hear the girls declare, he must be a millionaire. You can hear them sigh and wish that I will see them wink the other eye at the man who broke the bank at Monte Carlo. As I walk along the Bois de Boulogne with an independent air, you can hear the girls declare, he must be a millionaire. You can hear them sigh and wish that I will see them wink the other eye at the man who broke the bank at Monte Carlo. I stay indoors till after lunch and then me daily walk to the great Triumphal Arch, each one grand triumphal march. Observe by each observer with the keenness of a hawk, I'm a mass of money, linen, silk and starch. I'm a mass of money, linen, silk and starch. Anybody see my voice is carefully trained for the choir? As I walk along the Bois de Boulogne with an independent air, you can hear the girls declare, he must be a millionaire. You can hear them sigh and wish that I will see them wink the other eye at the man who broke the bank at Monte Carlo. As I walk along the Bois de Boulogne with an independent air, you can hear the girls declare, he must be a millionaire. You can hear them sigh and wish that I will see them wink the other eye at the man who broke the bank at Monte Carlo. I patronized the tables at the Monte Carlo hell till they hadn't got a sou for the Christian or a Jew. I then flew off to Paris with the charms of Mademoiselle, who's the darling of my heart, what can I do? When with 20 tongues she swears that she's through. Now I think for a variety I'll sing this chorus in the French language. Conjure ballad ou point bouillon et le long des grands boulevards. Mathieu tous les regards, on crie servi le v'là. Ça n'a pas une plante qui brune qui drôle par la bonne fortune. Qui fit tout in la banque of Monte Carlo. And I walked along the boîte full with an independent air. Could hear the girls glare. Even be a millionaire. Could hear them sigh and wish that I would see them wink the other eye. But the man who broke the bank at Monte Carlo.
Perhaps that fire at the Oxford Music Hall was what inspired a skit that was to become the classic image of the village fire brigade, as portrayed now by Alfred Lester and Buena Bent, only a few years after Charles Coburn's effort with the bank at Monte Carlo.
Now get away, you lads there. How many more times do you want telling, leaning up against the fire station like that? You'll have it over in a minute.
Oh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, lady.
I represent the Young Ladies' Chronicle, and I have a letter here from the mayor giving me permission to see over the station. My editor, he's asked me to write an article on the firefighters of England.
Oh, I suppose it is the fire station you want.
Oh, yes, of course it's the fire station.
Well, I didn't know, lady. We have been taken for window cleaners.
Well, now, I think I would like to see the engine first.
The engine. Yeah, so should I, but we haven't got one.
What? You haven't got an engine?
No, we've got no engine here. We've got this here, lady. It's an hand manual. Of course, we call it an engine whenever we drill and there's no one about. Now, keep your hands off it, miss. That wheel's tied up with string.
Yes, but then would you mind telling me, please, when did you have this new?
When did we have it new? We never got this new. We had it third hand. We had it from the next town after they'd had an accident with it.
Oh, yes, but then is it of any use?
Well, of course it's of use. What do you think? Do you think we go blackberrying with it? We carry the hose in it. And when I get tired, I have a ride in it. Now, then, have you got that?
Yes.
Yes, well, then I push the machine through the village, call up the other firemen, and off we go. And if we can't find the fire, as they all have good voices, we turn ourselves into a glee party.
Oh, yes, that sounds all very well. But then do you ever get to the fire in time to be of any use?
No, not often. You see, the houses about here, they're so small they burn down before you can get anywhere near.
Then what on earth's the good of you?
Well, I don't know, lady. Of course, we look jolly fine in a procession, you know.
I think it's time we looked in on the more commercial side of our music hall's extravaganza. Let's find out what the man with the sandwich boards is selling. Until the advent of music hall, London's lighter entertainment was divided between the supper rooms, the coffee houses of Fleet Street, which a century before had spawned the newspaper industry, and the catch and glee clubs of the 18th century. They found a new and permanent home in America. These were the West End haunts, like the Coal Hole, the Cider Cellar, and a place called Evans' Late Joys, whatever late joys they provided. They were pretty bohemian places, and together with the tavern rooms provided after theatre supper entertainment for the successors to Beau Brummel. These places provided a mixture of comic songs, ballads, and satire, even popular selections from opera. And they lasted well into the era of music hall, indeed up until the turn of the century and later. But they were for an all-male audience. Ladies were only permitted to witness the proceedings at Evans from a balcony, and only then from behind a latticed screen.
My pretty Jane, my pretty Jane, ah, never, never look so shy. But meet me in the evening, while the bloom is on the rye. The spring is waning fast, my love, the corn is in the ear. The summer nights are coming, love, the moon shines bright and clear. Then pretty Jane, my dearest Jane, I never look so shy. But meet me in the evening, while the bloom is on the rye. But name the day, the wedding day, and I will buy the ring. The lads and maids in favours white, and the village bells shall ring. The spring is waning fast, my love, the corn is in the ear. The summer nights are coming, love, the moon shines bright and clear. Then pretty Jane, my dearest Jane, I never look so shy. But meet me in the evening, while the bloom is on the rye.
In the outer areas of the cities, it was a different picture. There were the saloons. They were also to survive in America, especially, if Hollywood could be believed, in the wild, wild West. The famous London saloons included the Albert Saloon. Everything was Albert, or Victoria, 100 years ago. It was in Whitechapel. There was the Britannia Saloon in Hoxton, the Bower Saloon in Lambeth, and the famous Grecian Saloon, part of the Eagle Tavern, which survives, in name at least, in City Road, just across the river. Thus the saloon, often a taken-over and tarted-up barn or storehouse with the rudiments of a stage and a scattering of tables and chairs, apart, that is, from the bar. It survives in truncated form, of course, in the ubiquitous saloon bar of the Australian pub, as well as the English tavern, though now, alas, without the gaslight entertainment.
Let's carry our thoughts back a few years ago, when we went every week to a music hall show. Think of the pleasure it used to bring when we heard the vocalist sing. Just an old-fashioned lady with old-fashioned ways, and a smile that says welcome to you. For the angels above taught her the way how to love, to that old-fashioned mother of mine. We laughed at the comic and shouted encore, and joined in the chorus how we used to roar. Kabarges, cabines and carrots, carrots and cabines and cabarges. I'd rather have a nice plate of cabeef with cabarges, cabines and carrots. Applauding the singers, why we never tire. From the gods you could hear such a heavenly choir. Sally, Sally, you brought the sunshine to our alley. But Sally, You took the sunshine from our alley when you went away. We were so happy no one had the pip. Oh, how we used to let this chorus rip. Yes, we have no bananas. We have no bananas today. Let's all go to the music hall, where the show is gay and bright. Let's all go to the music hall, where the stars are twinkling twice a night. Whether you sit in the gallery, the circle, or the pit, or whether you sit in a red plush stall, when the busy day is done, if you want to have some fun, let's all go to the music hall.
The 19th century was truly the mechanical age, just as the 20th has been described as the electronic or the atomic, depending on which department of science you follow, I suppose. But as the desire for popular entertainment developed, so did the ingenuity to make music from machines, and hence the long list of music box variations that plied the fairgrounds, the streets, and the penny arcades. And this is one of them, from the Macquarie collection in Bristol. A penny piano playing boiled beef and carrots, all part of the music hall scene. But now it's time to turn down the gas lamps, empty out the barroom flies, and sweep the rubbish and the sawdust until next time. As the chairman might have put it, let us now thank those intrepid reporters and commentators, Miss Jessie Matthews, Mr. Tedbury, Mr. Stanley Holloway, and Mr. Sandy Powell, and the Argo Record Studios of London for the occasional use of their facilities. This is Don Taylor in London.